It all started with a broken wheelchair on a rainy afternoon in a forgotten corner of the city. A young mechanic covered in grease knelt beside a 10-year-old boy who had been stranded in the storm. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask for thanks. She simply said, "Give me 5 minutes." What neither of them knew was that a billionaire was watching, hidden in the shadows, stunned by what he saw. But this isn't a story about wealth. It's about the unexpected chain reaction triggered by a single act of kindness. Love, betrayal, a community on the brink of erasure, and a woman with oil-streaked hands who dared to challenge an empire. But here's the twist. What if the man she thought ruined her life was the one trying to save it? What really happened between them? What secret did the billionaire try to bury? And why did the mechanic walk away just when everything was about to change? The rain had just begun to fall harder when the boy's wheelchair hit a pothole and jerked to a sudden stop. "What are you doing?" the boy asked warily, watching the young woman crouch beside him. Her hands were covered in oil, her denim overalls stained, her eyes sharp with focus. "This wheel's jammed," she replied, inspecting the axle with practiced care. "Give me 5 minutes. I can fix it if you'll let me." Jacob Carter, age 10, looked at her with a mix of suspicion and wonder. Who was this strange woman standing in the middle of the storm, unbothered by the cold, the wet, or the fact that he was a stranger? Her voice didn't sound like pity. It sounded like certainty. Are you a mechanic?" "Mostly cars," she said with a wry smile. "But a wheel is a wheel. Car, wheelchair, doesn't matter. Come on, you're soaking wet out here." From inside the workshop, an old auto repair garage on the edge of the Brookside district in Boston, Emily Walker motioned toward the entrance. It was nothing fancy. A flickering fluorescent light, the smell of grease and motor oil, and the sign Walker & Sons Garage barely legible through the grime. But to her, it was home. What she didn't notice was the luxury SUV that had quietly pulled up across the street, and the man in a tailored coat who stepped out into the rain, staring at her with disbelief. William Carter, billionaire real estate mogul, had followed his son's GPS after the nanny called in a panic. Jacob had disappeared during the ride home from physical therapy. What he hadn't expected was to find his son here, with a stranger in a mechanic's garage. But Jacob didn't notice his father either. He was too busy watching Emily work. "Do you live here?" he asked, rolling inside. "I work here. Live a couple blocks away with my grandma Rose and my brother Nathan," she said, grabbing a wrench. "This place belonged to my dad, and before that, my granddad. So I guess you could say I was born under a hood." Her fingers moved deftly, tightening, adjusting, aligning. As she explained the parts of the mechanism, Jacob leaned in with wide eyes. "Want to try?" she asked, handing him a tool. "You mean it?" he gasped. "Sure. Turn it clockwise, gently. That's it. You're doing great." Just then, William entered the garage. His gaze shifted between his son, beaming with pride, and the woman guiding him. "Jacob, we've been looking everywhere," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. "Your nanny is beside herself." "Dad, look, I'm fixing my chair. With, Emily," she offered, standing up and wiping her hands on a rag. "Your kid's got a real talent for this, Mr. Carter, William Carter." Nikroy. He extended his hand, but she hesitated, wiping the remaining grease off her palm before shaking it briefly. "Thanks for helping him," he said, "but you should have called his caregiver." "She went to pick up my meds," Jacob interrupted, "and then the wheel broke. Emily saved me." "It's really no big deal," Emily said, crouching again. "Just a quick adjustment, and it'll roll like new." William didn't answer. He was too busy watching his son, laughing, excited, alive. Something he hadn't seen in a long time, not since his wife Carmen passed away. "All set," Emily said, stepping back. "Give it a spin." Jacob pushed the chair in a circle. "It doesn't squeak anymore," he yelled. "You're amazing." William reached for his wallet. "Really, thank you. How much do I owe you?" Emily frowned. "Nothing. Helping a neighbor doesn't cost a thing in Brookside," William insisted, pulling out several bills. "You took time from your job." "We're not neighbors, Dad," Jacob corrected. "We live in Back Bay." The moment the words left his mouth, Emily stiffened. Her eyes narrowed. "Carter," she said slowly, "as in Carter Enterprises, the company buying up half the district?" William raised an eyebrow. It's a redevelopment project, bringing jobs and modern spaces, destroying generations of family businesses like this one, Emily cut in. Gentrification isn't progress. Not to us. Just then Nathan Walker entered, drenched from the rain. Grandma was asking about... He paused, eyes landing on William. Is this the William Carter? Jacob looked between them, sensing the shift in energy. Emily was teaching me about gears, he offered, trying to lighten the tension. Not today, champ, William said gently. We've got to go. Your nanny's probably calling the police by now. He turned to Emily. Thanks again. For everything. Come on. Don't mention it, she said, her voice flat. And keep your money. Jacob twisted in his chair as they left. Will you teach me more next time, he called out. Emily smiled softly. Anytime. But her smile vanished the moment the door closed. She looked out through the garage window as the SUV pulled away. That man's going to tear this neighborhood apart, Nathan muttered. And his kid, she replied, deserves better than a father who thinks everything has a price. No. What she didn't see, what she couldn't possibly know, was the look in William's face as he drove away. It wasn't just confusion or discomfort. It was something deeper, a recognition, a spark of doubt. Later that night, in the quiet of their warm, cluttered home above the garage, Emily rubbed her temples while looking over the accounting ledger. We're barely holding on, she muttered. I know, Nathan said from behind his laptop, and the landlord's raising rent again. I'm not giving up, Emily said. This garage has survived worse. Grandma Rose, knitting quietly in the corner, looked up with a thoughtful frown. Your father always said every engine can be fixed, she said. The trick is having the right parts. At that exact moment, the phone rang. Emily answered, already bracing for bad news. But the voice on the other end made her freeze. I need your help, said William Carter. What happened? She asked instinctively. Is Jacob okay? It's his chair. It locked up again. And he has a big school presentation tomorrow. The technician can't come until Friday. He's asking for you. Emily hesitated. Should she help the man threatening her family's livelihood? Or the child who saw more value in gears than in wealth? Her silence stretched. Please, William added. It would mean the world to him. She took a deep breath. Thank you for watching. Sorry for the interruption. But we really hope you will interact with us so that we can improve further in the next content. What would you have done in Emily's place? Help or walk away? Do you think William's request is sincere? Or is it just another play from a wealthy man used to getting what he wants? Could this one favor change everything? Or unravel it all? Let us know in the comments. The next morning, Emily stood frozen in front of the imposing iron gates of Westwood Academy, her battered pickup looking embarrassingly out of place among the sleek black SUVs and European sedans lining the curb. She didn't belong here, and she knew it. William Carter greeted her near the front entrance. Despite the immaculate suit, his face was tired, lined with shadows that hadn't been there the day before. Thank you for coming, he said, sincerity softening his tone. He's in the auditorium. As Emily walked through the polished marble halls, her boots echoed awkwardly. Her worn jacket drew curious stares from parents sipping espresso and discussing real estate portfolios. But none of it mattered when she saw Jacob. He sat alone, anxiety in every inch of his small frame. His project, a complex model of pulleys and gears, lay beside him on the floor, half disassembled, and his wheelchair sat immobile. His eyes lit up when he saw her. You came! Dershai, he beamed, his fear melting into relief. Of course I did, she said, crouching by the jammed wheel. Let's get your ride back in action. As she worked, Emily examined his project and blinked in surprise. It wasn't a typical school display. It was a functioning mechanical system. You built this? Based on what you taught me, Jacob said proudly. It's about transferring force efficiently. William stood nearby, observing them quietly. It was the first time he realized that Jacob hadn't just been learning about machines. He'd been finding himself, his confidence, his curiosity, his voice. You use clock gears, Emily noted, impressed. Smart. Did you get these from the junkyard? Nope. Dad took me to a vintage shop last weekend. Her eyes flicked up toward William. He gave a small, almost bashful shrug. He insisted, William murmured. Said he needed the right parts. Her while when the wheelchair was fixed, Emily made a move to leave, but Jacob grabbed her hand. Please stay for my presentation. Please. She hesitated. She didn't want to be dragged deeper into this world of power suits and promises, but then she looked into the boy's eyes. How could she say no? From the back of the auditorium, Emily watched Jacob explain his project to a room full of parents, teachers, and judges. He spoke with confidence, referencing mechanical principles she'd taught him as if he were born with them. He even called her my mechanic teacher. I've never seen him like this, William said, seated beside her. Alive. Lit up. Maybe he just needed to feel useful, she replied. Needed to fix something, not be the thing that's always being fixed. After the presentation, as the applause echoed, Jacob rolled over and tugged on her sleeve. Can we get lunch? Emily hesitated. She had invoices to chase and a leaky roof to patch, but his hopeful eyes tugged harder than any responsibility. 1 hour, she agreed. Over sandwiches and soda at a quiet cafe nearby, Jacob animatedly showed her sketches for a new project, a self-braking wheelchair. William listened, but it was Emily who engaged him, who asked questions, who lit the fire in him. Then William leaned back, his tone casual but layered. My company's holding a community forum this Friday, he said. About the redevelopment plan, I'd like you to come. She stiffened. To watch your team roll out another blueprint for wiping us off the map? No, to speak, to represent the garage, to fight for it. Why would you care what I have to say? Because you're not wrong, William said quietly. You made me see it. The project needs rethinking. Before Emily could reply, her phone rang. It was Nathan. She answered and froze. What's wrong? William asked, watching her face pale. It's Grandma, she said, breath catching. She fell in the kitchen. She's being taken to the ER. I'll drive, William said, already on his feet. Now. Emily wanted to refuse, but she also knew she'd never get there in time by bus. So she nodded and they ran. When they arrived, Nathan was already pacing outside the ER. Emily jumped out before the car even stopped. The paramedics said she might have had a mini-stroke, Nathan said. She collapsed while boiling water. Emily rushed in without looking back. But William didn't leave. He waited. Later, inside the hospital room, the beeping of machines mixed with the quiet murmurs of family. Emily leaned over her grandmother's bed, brushing silver hair off her forehead. She needs rest, the nurse whispered, and peace. Too much stress could worsen things. Emily nodded, fighting tears. She'd held everything together for so long, but now the walls were cracking. When she finally stepped out of the room, she found William still in the hallway. I didn't expect you to stay, she admitted. Someone had to, he said softly. I'm sorry this happened. I can't afford a hospital stay, and now the rent's going up. Again. William reached for his wallet, but stopped himself. I'm not here to offer money, just support, whatever you need. Emily looked away. You're still the man behind the project that's taking our shop. I was, he said, but maybe not anymore. In the days that followed, the lines between their worlds blurred. William began dropping Jacob off at the garage every Saturday, not just for repairs, but for lessons, mechanical ones, life ones. Emily noticed the change in the boy. His hands grew confident, his eyes brighter. And William started staying longer, talking more, listening. Then came the evening Jacob fell asleep in the garage's office, curled up with a blueprint in his lap. William carried him to the truck in silence. When he returned, he looked around the garage. You really kept this place alive, he said. I had to. What about your dreams? Was this always it? She turned to him. This is the dream. It may not look like much to you, but this garage raised my brother, protected my grandma, kept us going. I don't want skyscrapers. I want meaning. He nodded slowly. My wife, Carmen, she used to say something similar. The mention of her startled Emily. She believed that building communities mattered more than building towers. And now, watching Jacob here, I think she was right. He paused. I'm trying, Emily, to change the direction. And for the first time, she believed he meant it. But change never comes without resistance. That night in a boardroom downtown, William's partner slammed a folder on the table. You've lost it, Carter. Reworking the Brookside plan for community spaces? Sacrificing square footage for some rundown garage? William didn't back down. We're not just building structures, we're rebuilding trust, and that garage is staying. The war had begun, but back in Brookside, neither Emily nor Jacob knew what forces were about to collide. And the next time Emily opened the mail, her hands trembled. It was an eviction notice. The building had been sold, 30 days. Then everything she had left would be gone. Why now? Why just when everything seemed to be shifting? And who would gain from destroying the garage? If William wasn't behind it anymore. What do you think? Was this sabotage from inside William's company? Can Emily still trust William after this devastating twist? And what would you do if your home, your work, and your family were threatened all at once? Type 3 if you're hooked and can't wait to see what happens next. Type 2 if you're enjoying the ride so far. Type 1 if you feel something's missing and you want more. Tell us, where in the world are you watching from? And if this story touched your heart, share it with someone who believes that even broken machines and people can be rebuilt. The eviction notice trembled in Emily's hands like a silent threat. 30 days until everything her family built would be wiped out. The signature at the bottom wasn't William Carter's. It belonged to a shadow company, Crescent Ridge Holdings. But Nathan, always thorough, had already done the digging. It's a shell company, he said. And guess what? It's tied to Carter Development, one of William's subsidiaries. Emily's stomach turned. Was everything a lie? His sudden kindness? The community forum? The promise that her garage would be protected? Betrayal clawed at her chest. She replayed every moment with him, his concern for Jacob, the quiet conversations after class, the way he'd watched her weld as if mesmerized. Was it all a performance? She wanted to storm into his office, demand an explanation, but something held her back. Maybe it was Jacob's voice in her memory. He listens to you, Emily. He's not like the others. But was he? That night, while Doña Rose slept restlessly in her hospital bed, Emily sat at her side, her mind spinning. The walls felt like they were closing in, crushing everything she'd worked for. Santiago was already working double shifts. The hospital bills were growing. And now this. Back at his penthouse, William stared at the same notice Emily had received, thrown on his desk by his CFO. This was never approved, he said coldly. Well, you gave Raphael the green light to speed up acquisitions, the CFO replied. This one just moved faster than expected. No, this was deliberate, William muttered. Targeted. Raphael's timing couldn't have been more precise. The next morning, William called Emily. She didn't pick up, so he drove to the hospital himself. When he arrived, Emily was outside the building, talking to a nurse. Her shoulders were tense, her hair messily tied, and her expression unreadable. Emily, he began. Don't, she snapped, eyes blazing. Don't you dare come here. I didn't know, he said quietly, stepping closer. I swear to you, I didn't authorize that sale. I don't care, she said. I gave you a chance. I trusted you. And now, my grandmother's in the hospital, my garage is being taken from me, and I'm out of options. His jaw clenched. Let me fix it. You can't fix this, she said. Not everything can be undone with money and promises, William. She turned to go but paused. Tell Jacob, the Saturday lessons are over. The look on his face made her hesitate, but she walked away. The days passed in silence. Jacob stopped attending physical therapy. He barely spoke to his teachers. He didn't even touch his sketches. It's like watching him lose color, Martina whispered to William one evening. He thinks Emily's gone because of him. So William did what he hadn't done in years. He called the one person who could still reach the core of a broken soul. Santiago. They met in secret outside the hospital cafeteria. She won't see you, Santiago warned. She doesn't have to, William replied. I just need you to tell me how to help. Santiago looked skeptical. Why now? Because I can't watch that boy fade away. And because I care. Not just about Jacob, about her, about all of them. Farber. After a long pause, Santiago sighed. Then you'd better move fast. The next morning, Emily found a letter slipped beneath her apartment door. It wasn't typed, it was handwritten. And it wasn't signed William Carter, CEO. It was just Will. In the envelope was a blueprint of a building. A familiar one. Abandoned 2 streets over. A former auto body shop with upstairs apartments. Decades old, structurally sound. A note scribbled in the corner. Yours. No conditions. No tricks. Just a place to rebuild. Emily clutched the blueprint in disbelief. Later that week, she visited the property. William was already there, waiting. You bought it? She asked. I didn't just buy it, he said. I transferred it. It's yours. Clean title. Reviewed by an independent lawyer. No ties to me. No press. Just you. She stared at him. Why? Because I believe in what you do. Because I've seen what it means to Jacob. And because I meant everything I said about changing things. She looked around. Rusted beams, cracked floors, paint peeling. But under it all, she saw hope. She saw home. And for the first time in weeks, she smiled. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was a start. A week later, the new workshop opened its doors. No ribbon cutting, no ceremony. Just grease-stained hands and the sound of a motor roaring back to life. Jacob rolled in, eyes wide. This place is amazing, he whispered. Emily knelt beside him. You helped build it. He smiled. So, Saturday lessons again? Only if you're ready to get your hands dirty. That afternoon, Santiago arrived with good news. A scholarship from a community foundation. And the name on the sponsor line? Anonymous. But they all knew who it was? Emily didn't say anything. But she looked at William, standing quietly at the edge of the garage, and gave him a nod. Not approval, but acknowledgement. And sometimes, that's the first piece that clicks into place. But what's next for William and Emily? Can trust truly be rebuilt, or are some wounds too deep? And who do you think really orchestrated the betrayal? Was it Raphael, or someone even closer? Thank you for watching. Sorry for the interruption. But we really hope you will interact with us so that we can improve further in the next content. If it moved you, comment 3 below. If you're unsure, comment 2. If it didn't quite land, comment 1. Also, drop your country in the comments. We'd love to know where you're watching from. And if this story hit your heart, don't forget to share it. Someone else out there might need a reminder that even when something breaks, it can still be rebuilt.